Hey folks, Stu Starkey here. If you've been following along with me on Facebook or in personal conversations that I've been having, you know that this crisis taking place in Israel has clearly taken a hold. Cheryl and I having just visited there a little over 3 weeks ago now, and having such an incredible experience throughout Israel and the West Bank. While I clearly stand on the side of Israel and am appalled by the actions of Hamas, that does not make me immune to what is happening to the Palestinian people in Gaza. It is time for the region, for the United States, and for sovereign nations around the world to step up, work towards a two-state solution, and put an end to these militants and murderers that have indoctrinated themselves into the Middle East. So I want to start with a comment made by Jordan's King Abdallah, who said on October 11th that no peace was possible in the Middle East without the emergence of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. The latest violence, which broke out when Hamas militants assaulted Israel at the weekend, showed the region would not enjoy stability, security, or peace without a sovereign Palestinian state on land that Israel has captured in the '67 Arab-Israeli War. If you followed my politics for the last few decades, you know that I have stood for a two-state solution to this crisis, creating a truly sovereign nation for the Palestinians for years. So let's not sit back and simply accept that we must be in a time of war. Let's hope for the freedom of the hostages that are being held by Hamas. Let's hope for peace for the families destroyed by the Hamas military actions, and let's look for a solution so that my children and future generations can walk through the land of Israel in safety and in peace. So we do need a two-state solution. It's always been a need. It always will be a need. And while it must recognize, of course, the sovereignty of the people of Israel, it also must recognize the sovereignty of the people of Palestine, who have shared a multi-thousand-year history with the Jewish people. So, a two-state solution. Goal: create a Palestinian state with recognition of sovereignty and security for the Palestinian people. Secure lasting peace for the people of Israel. Elimination of terrorist groups and weapons at Israel's borders, and a prosperous and sustaining homeland for the Palestinian people. So here simply is the current map of Israel, bordered by Jordan and Syria, Lebanon to the north, Egypt to the east, showing the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Here is my presentation. Let this be the footprint. Let's go forward from what's wrong with it, and let's go forward with what's right with it, and let's come up with a solution. My plan is to create an independent Palestine which expands from the current West Bank to include new lands from both Israel, Syria, and Jordan. Allow the capital to be located at Bethlehem. It's a sister city only miles away from Jerusalem. By blending into Syria, Jordan, and Israel, it removes the governance of Hamas, because the Gaza Strip would be divided into two pieces, the south annexed by Egypt, the north by Israel. This would allow Palestinians to not have to move from the region and not be under Israeli control. Basic provisions. Gaza becomes part of Egypt and part of Israel. No one is forced to relocate, but let's be honest and assume that most will, to the new independent and sovereign nation of Palestine. Hamas disbands, and all leaders and members of Hamas are relocated to Syria or Jordan. Leaders of Hamas agree to be exiled to Iran. A formal peace treaty is signed between Israel, Syria, and Jordan, assuring no weapons shall be used against either nation, and formal borders are recognized for travel and trade. All Israeli soldiers are removed from the West Bank as it becomes the independent nation of Palestine. A United Nations police force joins Israel in the patrol of Jerusalem until a Palestinian police force is created to share in assuring the safety of Jerusalem, while Jerusalem remains within the borders of Israel. The new nation of Palestine agrees to be protected by a joint Jordanian, Syrian, and Palestinian force to implement these provisions. Immediate focuses for the new state: a permanent water resource independent of Israel, housing needs for a mass migration that could be up to 2 million people, focusing on the land to create a food source that creates a self-sufficient country with export capabilities, a multi-nation security force between Syria and Jordan to assure the security of all nations, pressure by Syria and Jordan to move Lebanon and Iran into peace talks with Israel, assuring an education model for the young inhabitants of the new state of Palestine, healthcare and medical facilities, and insurances of food and other resources as the new nation becomes self-sufficient. Here, you simply see how we cut up and create the resources by moving into both parts of Syria and Jordan. The blue line represents a new water source desalinated outside of Damascus. It can provide water for development and sustainable farming in the new state. Israel provides water to the new state in the area that was the West Bank, a reliable water resource. And solar power created to electrify the new state, including the territory that was the West Bank, fully independent from Israel. Forming this government will not be easy. One thing for sure, it must not include any terrorist organizations. So the United Nations will recognize the new state of Palestine. A commission made up of leaders from Jordan and Syria will form a local government until free elections can be held in the new nation. And a commission of people of the new nation will write a constitution and form a new government. My friends, I am not hopeful, but I breathe, and therefore I must work to try to create a world in which the next generation grows up in a better place than we are in now. I will do what I can, but without you and without our leaders taking an active role and securing the state of Israel and putting an end to terrorism and recognizing that the people of Palestine do and have always deserved a peaceful homeland of their own, nothing changes. So this is my plan. Feel free to email me or write me and tell me everything that's wrong with it. Just tell me yours that's better. And let's get all of these nations and all of their leaders around a table and simply decide that people massacring children and old people and Holocaust survivors and babies while they're in their beds is not acceptable anymore in the world that we want to leave to the next generation. And let's decide that turning off water and turning off electricity to 1 million mommies just trying to raise their children under the umbrella of a terrorist government is not a solution to where we are today. So there's it. That's my plan. Send me what you got that's better. But for God's sakes, don't just sit there. Love you. Thank you. God bless.